That absolutely devastating video that you just saw, unfortunately, ended the way that you probably expected that it would. And we're not gonna show any more of the video footage. The video footage made available by the fact that there was obviously a camera running in that car, but we are gonna tell you about what tragically happened in that video. So there's the man pointing that revolver, acting out some sort of cowboy fantasy. That is William Brock. He shot the woman, Loletha Hall, following being the victim of a scam. So he had been targeted by this scam, but not by Loletha. She is another victim of the scam, a far worse victim because she ended up losing her life as a result of it. So let's try to work through what happened, what led to these tragic results. So William Brock, the individual in the video, told investigators that he shot her outside his home back on March 25th because he thought that she was working with a man who called him pretending to be an officer at the local court. One of the cops said Mr. Brock received some scam call by a person purporting to be someone from our courts who informed him a family member was incarcerated and that he had a bond of a significant amount of money. The calls turned from I'm an officer to the court to we have the subject hostage, this is a ransom demand. So this is the sort of scam that you've probably seen before. They call up pretending to have someone that you care about, and unless you give us money, you're never gonna see them again. That's basically what happened. And so the person who called Brock, or an accomplice, there's a lot that's not very clear about this, requested an Uber ride to his home to pick up the money. So Loletha Hall is an Uber driver, had no idea about literally any of this, no involvement, let alone knowledge. When Hall arrived at the home and approached the front door, Brock confronted her with the gun, already had the gun, and asked her who she was working for. He took her cell phone, again, at gunpoint, and prevented her from getting in her vehicle and driving away. When she tried to get away, he shot her once. Then there was more exchange between them. Mr. Brock was at some point injured to his head, and he shot Miss Hall a second time. There was more conversation, and this is just when you stop to really think about what is being represented in this quote. I am sure she is begging for her life at that point. She has already been shot twice. And he decides, no, I'm gonna shoot her a third time. She can't get away, she's incapacitated, she's not involved in any of this, but even if she was, she's not going anywhere. He tried to he finished her off effectively, that's what he did. He was not content for her to be arrested or for her to be injured. He finished her off with a third shot. Now, she eventually made it to the hospital, but eventually passed from her injuries. And only after that third shot did he then make contact with authorities to report the incident. And he's now being charged. We'll give you the charges. Here is the individual. Hall didn't do anything to deserve any of this. She wasn't involved in the scam. She didn't threaten him. She didn't have a weapon. She didn't assault him until possibly after she'd already been shot by this madman. And you can see her right there, taken because she happened to be called in for this. The true victim of the scam. This guy potentially lost some money, could have lost some money. She lost her life. This guy was so enraged by the idea that he might have to pay out some money, and that was unacceptable. Instead, he'll kill someone, and that's a better outcome for his life. That puts his life in a better situation, I guess. Look, there's a lot that's not clear about this. The entire thing is utter madness, but I will remind everyone, if everything about this story was exactly the same, except he didn't have a gun, no one would be dead. No one at all. It was the mere presence of the gun that turned this from an unfortunate situation to a tragic situation, as is so often the case. Sharon, I wanna know what you think about all this.
So this one, and I want to say something. I'm not in any way blaming the police for giving the narrative, which it has a ring of truth to it, right? It has a ring of truth. But I feel some kind of way about seniors who are taken advantage of. And so when you lead with that, as the police narrative did, I was just all over the place, a roller coaster of emotions here. Bottom line is, he could have called the authorities before he answered the door. He could have held her there and called the authorities. I still feel, and I think I have a right to feel this way as a brown person who feels under attack, seeing so many of these incidents, that there's just not a value, a respect put on human life. And so whether the circumstances are valid or present, my mind goes there. If this were not a black woman driving Uber who showed up at his home, would she still be alive? Would she be injured but alive? It just bothers me so much. It's almost like a buildup of, I do feel sorry for seniors who are taken advantage too often. It's sick. But you're right. So why does it have to end like this? Finished her off?
I know the whole thing is just absolutely devastating. I remember we had a number of these like in 1 or 2 weeks last year, where you pull into the wrong driveway, or you knock on the wrong door, you walk past the wrong door or something. And in so many of these cases, it could have gone differently. Look, the scam is devastating. Everyone should watch John Oliver's recent rundown of some of the most recent scams that have been affecting a number of people. But this did not need to happen. It did not need to happen. She should be alive today. He's facing many charges. He faces potentially massive fines and years in prison. We'll see what happens with that. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.